I didn't get my oven mitt. God damn it. I didn't even make a thumbnail for today. That's how my brain is right now. One of these days, I'm just gonna do a stream of just my chair, and I'm gonna be in the chat, but nobody's gonna be on camera. I will lurk in my own stream with nothing happening. I mean, I guess it'd still be more than some other streams that I've been made aware of. At least when you show up here, you know what you're getting. Nonsense. Complete nonsense. Once in a lifetime opportunity nonsense. Forever and ever. Okay. So a couple of days ago, Steve covered this video here. And it's just an open letter to atheists from a priest, whatever, I don't know. So he kind of covered a lot of like the questions, assuming that he's asking, I guess, technical philosophical questions. Now I'm not entirely sure if that's what the priest was going for. Not that I have a problem with the answers that were given. I think I pretty well agreed with everything that was being said. But I think there's also another approach to these kinds of conversation starters, and I'd kind of like to do that because I'm not terribly interested in being... Cause I know that... I'm pretty sure Aaron covered this video also, and so he did it in his style, and Steve has done it in his style, and so I figured it might be interesting to maybe do it a little bit differently, maybe something that's a little bit... So Steve is very technical and Aaron is very confrontational. I think I'm going to go take a different route and maybe just see if I can... I'll probably be a little saucy, I know myself, but you know. Just pretend the chair. I'll put googly eyes on the chair. As you can see, I'm not very awake at all. I'm pretty tired, but I'm gonna do my best. When you've the people that are the people are replying to you are agnostic, speaking in a very technical philosophical sense, and one very angry boy. So let's see what this guy has to say and sort of see if there's anything that we have to say in response, and maybe I don't know, might be interesting. Let's find out. Okay, listen, before you start, before you say anything, I don't know what I was expecting when I first saw this, but is this real? I'm not familiar with this person. Ironically, their name is Breaking in the Habit, and so like a habit is the outfit, and so I don't know if this is real or if this is a character or if this is just like the decide to how to present the, like, he looks like he's being sassy right out the gate. I think he's cute. I'm not gonna lie, I think this dude's kind of adorable. So I'm gonna take this at face value, assuming that this is real, and not assuming that it's... I don't think he's a Poe, but like this is a little bit dramatic. Hey, what do I know? Let's This is like if somebody walked out, like, oh god, it's just making me think of the interviews with people that think they're vampires or they act like they're vampires, and they're just like, yeah, no, exchanging blood is part of our sexual relationship. And it's like, but they're slurring because they have fake teeth in. All right, I'm gonna assume this guy is not just LARPing, that this is actually his this is real life. So I'm gonna I don't know. If it's real, then cool. I'm just not sure.
Atheists. Thanks for clicking on this video. It means a lot to me, really. I'm a religious guy who's devoted my life to a God you don't believe in, so you're taking a bit of a risk here that I might insult you, make you feel bad about your life, or...
That's good. That's good. You're good. Don't worry about it. This is the internet. Everybody's pretty much allowed to say whatever the hell they want here, for the most part. Having a discussion, an earnest discussion with somebody, having people question your beliefs shouldn't offend you. Particularly if you're choosing to go to these kinds of places, or if you're choosing to enter these kinds of conversations. If you get offended, you're kind of doing that to yourself. But I don't know, I feel like, yeah, I'm living life on the edge talking to somebody in monk attire. No. It's okay. It's okay, bud. You can be harsh to me. I won't. I'm not gonna get mad. I won't get upset. I've got people that are actively trying to be mean to me and trying to rile me up. So, I mean, if you're not trying, or if they're trying and they can't succeed, I doubt you passively is going to do that. So let's see.
Risk here that I might insult you, make you feel bad about your life, or at the very least, waste your time. I really do appreciate it, and I hope not to do any of those things here. Rather, I'd like to pose a question to you. It's a very simple question, in fact. It is more of an exhortation from me to you. This question is not meant to trick you or convert you. I don't have some super ingenious question that will somehow inspire faith in a deity, as much as I'd love to.
So part of the reason what makes me think this is a little bit played up drama is the way he's kind of moving, and he's like, clearly he's performing a script, and that's not a bad thing. It's just it comes off as adorable. I don't know, I want to be friends with this person. That's all I want. I want to be buddies. Can we be friends, please? Can we be friends? I want to be friends.
I'd rather just like to challenge you. You say that you're an atheist, that you don't believe in gods, and I just want to know one thing. Are you a good one?
Good one what? You mean a good atheist? I don't know what that means. Maybe he will elaborate. I honestly don't know what does it mean to be a good atheist? Are you good at not believing in gods? I know some atheists, or people who say they're atheists, who are not very good at not believing in gods. They usually say that they don't not believe in gods, they just have a lack of belief in gods. So I guess in that sense, since they're being very unclear with their wording, and they're also being very unclear with their intentions and their actual position, then yeah, I guess in that sense you could say they weren't very good at being the thing that they purport to be, since they're not doing that. But I don't, I don't think that's what this guy means. So let's keep listening and see what he has to say.
Are you a good atheist? It's a question that I ask with two things in mind. The first being related to morality. While religion in general, and Christianity in particular, doesn't necessarily make someone a moral person, these ways of life do necessarily demand morality of adherence. There is a particular code of life that one must live.
Yeah, so, like, if you're a Catholic, then you might use rosary beads and go to confession and do ritual things that are considered moral or immoral to not do them. So if you are a Christian, or if you're a Catholic and you're not going to confessional, or if you're a Catholic and you're not baptized, it may be considered immoral for you to not be adhering or complying or engaging in those traditions or those things. Depending on how you... I don't know, you ever seen the movie Footloose? People seem to think it was sinful to dance, so if you're dancing, then you're maybe you're engaging in a sexualized behavior in the context of the movie. So yeah, that might be considered immoral, but that wouldn't apply to somebody who doesn't believe that religion. So if you were to move it over, there are things that Catholics would do that might be considered moral by Muslims and vice versa. Depends on kind of how you read a lot of different scripture and in what way you take it. So things like murdering people who don't believe in the same thing as you do might be considered, if you don't murder them, it could be considered immoral, but interpretation and time period are things. I'm agreeing with this guy so far, yes. Yes.
In the case of Catholic Christianity, that code is one of peace and justice, mercy and forgiveness. It's a code that seeks to care for the poor and seek reparations for those who take advantage of the vulnerable. Now,
depending on your interpretation, sure, yeah.
Lord knows we don't always live up to our founder and have actually done some pretty atrocious things through the years, but it is our faith that at least informs us when we do these things and gives us and reminds us a moral code to live by.
I'm pretty sure this guy just hand-waved away the Catholic Church being probably one of the worst religious entities in existence. I don't know if anybody here's taken a look at sort of Christopher Hitchens' work and what he had talked about the behavior of Mother Teresa. That would probably be a good place to start. You could also go with the crimes of Catholic priests that then get covered up by other people within the church, but I'm pretty sure he just hand-waved all that away with, but we were trying to do good at the time, and no, you can't do that, but no, I apologize, but I cannot accept that as something you can just bring up and then hand wave away. I don't want to, again, not to be rude and not to be mean, because certainly I am also not trying to offend you or hurt your feelings or make you feel bad or try to convert you away. It's just there are things that are unacceptable, and to hand wave them away with, but people were trying to do good at the time. Particularly Mother Teresa comes to mind just because of but they thought they were doing good at the time. Because she was granted sainthood for her behavior, but also that people were suffering in her care, and she was like, suffering is the work of the Lord, and so she was like imposing suffering on these people because she thought it was the will of God, and then she was rewarded during her life and then granted sainthood, so the church condoned it and then rewarded it even after the fact and continues to do so. So no, absolutely not. The Catholic Church is probably one of the worst religious organizations ever. I don't know what to tell you. Does that have any bearing on whether or not God exists, or whether or not your belief in said God is either justified or valid? No, it just means the organization is kind of trash. You can't just hand wave that away. But let's pretend he did. Let's pretend that you can, yes, okay, we hand wave that away. We're going to ignore all that stuff. Let's continue on.
Reminds us that it's not an option. We must strive to be good people. Now, as someone who doesn't have this foundation, who doesn't believe in a God or adhere to a religion, there is no superstructure making this demand on your life. No one telling you how to live in certain situations. Without a belief in an afterlife, there might be a feeling that all the world is futile, so what difference does it make?
So, that comes down to a little bit of more philosophy of self. So how do you deal with life? Like, what's your way of sort of, what do you think about and how do you think about that? And that's going to be a very, very individual based. Not he's kind of going into nihilism, and not every atheist is a nihilist, but also nihilism may or may not have to do with whether or not you believe life could be predetermined, because you could easily flip this back around and you say, okay, well, if everything's predetermined by God, then why does it matter what I do? Period. So you can have a very, it's not, you can kind of be nihilistic about anything if you want. It's not really that hard. You just say, oh, well, nothing matters. Or, well, God has a plan for everybody, so if the plan's already set in place, why does it matter if I pray? Why does it matter if I do anything? Everything's going to go according to God's plan anyway. How could I, a lowly being like me, ever go against a God so powerful? What would be the point? Or even go with a God, it doesn't matter what I do, it's all planned out anyway, or whatever. So it kind of depends on whether or not you're into determinism. Free will doesn't really necessarily factor into whether or not God has a divine plan, because the way I used to kind of explain it is that if I know what your favorite color is, I ask you what your favorite color is, I might already know the answer, and so you have a choice, but I know what you're going to pick. Do you know what I mean? So, but if you want to know how, like, an atheist decides their moral framework, that's going to be entirely on an individual level, because atheism itself isn't the thing that dictates that, right? So in Christianity or in Catholicism or in most religions, the religion is what is dictating your moral superstructure, or whatever he wants to call it. For atheism, that's not the case. A lot of atheists will go to naturalism or humanism or a mix of the two, but not everyone. So you have to be you have to be a little bit less lazy in a way. So if you want to know why something is wrong, you need to sit around and analyze it and decide, well, why do you think it's wrong and how do you justify that? So it's a philosophy of self. Whether or not you think stealing is right or wrong, and in what situations is it justified or not justified. In what situations do you think lying is right or wrong, and in what situations is it justified, and in what situations is it not justified. And so you kind of have to take that on an individual basis. You can't just say, oh, hey, atheists, because you're not going to get the same answer, because atheism isn't the thing that determines that. So this is why sort of you have dogmatic groups of atheists, yes. And so if you're talking to that group of people, then they may give you the same answer because they sort of have that framework built into that particular group. So if you were to ask a Christian and say, hey, is murdering bad? They would say, why? And you ask why, they would give you reasons, and it's likely that one of them would say, well, because it's against the 10 Commandments, because God said murder is bad. But, I mean, most people are going to have other reasons as to why they think murder is bad without needing God at all. It's just one of them. And then when you start getting into more gray stuff, I mean, murder is kind of gray depending on where you look in the Bible. Sometimes murder is okay. So, you know, it's kind of hard to say whether or not, even if you're using Christianity as a framework, which, I mean, you don't have to necessarily even be a Christian to do that. You could be completely secular and still decide that the Bible has value as a teaching tool or as a moral book, or there's parts of the Bible that you like and you want to use and keep in your life because you find value in those things, that's fine. I wave back. There's you can find value in pretty much everything if you look hard enough, even if it's just for shits and giggles. But yeah, morality is just you're asking about personal morality to a group of people that doesn't have a framework to dictate that the same way religion does. So the answer is going to completely depend on who you're talking to. So asking atheists is kind of a misnomer. Let's keep going.
This, of course, does not need to be the case. Some of the world's greatest humanitarians, some of the most influential figures today promoting peace and justice efforts, are not adherents to a religion, but live morally out of a commitment to humanity, a recognition of our interconnectedness.
I think he just answered his own question.
An acknowledgement that there is something good in itself about loving one another, about sacrifice. And so I ask you, are you a good atheist? Even though there may be no eternal reward or punishment, even though you're free to do whatever you want, do you choose the virtuous path that benefits?
Well, depending on whether or not you think about how you feel about determinism, you may not have a choice. But he just answered his own question, so I don't know why he was asking me in the first place. If you want to know me personally, no, I'm a shithead. I'm not a good person. I'm kind of the worst. Never listen to anything I say ever. I'm an awful person, and that's all. Just don't. I'm doing goblin things. I don't know.
If it's not only you, but others, I hope so. The world needs good atheists. Now, of course, the word good points to more than just a sense of morality. It also represents an evaluation of aptitude. When I ask if you're a good atheist, I want to know if you're good at being an atheist. Do you articulate why you don't believe in God in a coherent way?
Oh dang, he's actually talking about the Atheists. Are you good at being able to explain to people why you don't believe in a God? Well, I just lack a belief in a God. That's the answer to that is no then. You are not good at explaining. Your aptitude is low. I like to think that I'm decent at this. I feel like I've had this conversation enough times.
Or you just think that
and that I actually answer the question.
Religion's dumb, so use logical fallacies. Have you explored the depths of your mind and heart, asking the real questions of life, of death, faith and reason, seeking to understand what this human life is really about?
Philosophy. He's talking about philosophy of self mixed with philosophy of reality. If you're contemplating life and death and how you sort of handle that as a person, talking about life and death and how reality works, and how you kind of reconcile that for yourself is 2 and 3. Right? He's talking about different kinds of philosophies and different kinds of moral theory and argumentation. So he's basically like, hey, atheists, do you know you're talking about philosophy, and do you know dick about philosophy? Nah, if you're on Twitter, the answer is probably no. There's far more outspoken, annoying atheists on Twitter than there are not, in my experience. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a goblin.
You just not want to go to church, so this'll do. Have you read The Critical Atheist Thinker?
Okay, to be fair, church is boring as fuck. Sorry. Make church about asking questions instead of just listening to somebody telling you how to. So, church is kind of about. What he's talking about is two different things. In atheism, or lacking a religion, you don't have somebody telling you how to live your life or telling you what to do or how to behave in certain situations. You have to do that work on your own. You can look to people for advice. You can draw from the wealth of human knowledge that has been collected through the eons in libraries and books and through other people, and have conversations, and you've got access to the internet, so you can get point of views from all over the world. So you have access to information, and you can use that information to help inform you about whatever decision or behavior you want to do or choose to go down, and that's all well and good. But in church, you have the Bible, which has all knowledge, and which then just tells you that you need to behave this way in a specific way. It certainly does take a lot of the fun out of it, in my opinion. But the other part of that is that if you go to church, it's somebody telling you what to and to not put value into, right? They don't tend to tell you why. It's sort of just assumed. But if you were to kind of create a church situation that had more discussions, a church situations where, well, the preacher is going on about his spiel while he's doing his preachy bit, if somebody could raise their hand, and instead of, I know I'm not just praising God, I have a question, and you actually allowed maybe a question and answer segment, that would be really interesting. I think that would bring a lot of value to a church situation for believers and non-believers. Particularly, like, you're going to get your assholes. Like, that's going to happen. You're going to get somebody who's like, well, I don't believe in God. Fuck you. And it's like, okay, yeah, time and place, bud. We're be polite. Don't be a dick. But ask questions about the topic and not just like about crummy things religion does in general. You could probably end up with something really valuable and really interesting. But I just don't. Having my whole life being told what to do all the time is kind of boring. Do you like being just told what to do all the time? I mean, some people do. I don't judge if that's how you are and that's what you enjoy and that's how you like to live your life. So, again, this is the same kind of question that you can just flip around and say, well, is it just because you just want to go to church so you don't have to have these conversations? So it's easier if it's better for you? Not going to church because you don't want to is a pretty good reason to not go to church. And going to church because you want to is a pretty good reason to go to church. I don't know.
Of history, people like Nietzsche, Sartre, Feuerbach, Heidegger, people who really ask the challenging questions, who pose thoughtful insights of the world. Or just stick with people like Richard Dawkins, people who provide great sound bites for the cause, yippee, but do little to add anything to the world other than strawman arguments and divisiveness.
Okay, so two different things on that point. Richard Dawkins' goal was to bring divisiveness, particularly back when the Four Horsemen stuff was going on, right? The goal was to question the role of religion by asserting there is no God or there are no gods, and here's why. So you're asking people to have these questions, and then you're saying that, well, people who are trying to have that conversation are divisive. You need to make up your mind. What do you want? Do you want people to be able to articulate that or not? Now, the reason why he didn't bring up Dawkins at that point and is bringing him up here is because Richard Dawkins' philosophy he's not very strong in. Because he's a biologist. He's not a philosopher. Of course he's not asking big questions about philosophy. He's not asking big questions about philosophy of mind because he's not a philosopher. You're saying he doesn't contribute to this. Of course he doesn't. He's a biologist. He contributes in biology, in the field of education for evolutionary biology in particular. There are way more people who have a way better understanding of evolutionary biology because of Richard Dawkins. But if you're going to turn around and say, well, he hasn't contributed anything to philosophy, yeah, so he probably hasn't contributed a lot to firefighting either. What's your point? Why aren't you contributing to Islam? Oh, is because you don't follow that because that's not the thing you do? That is a straw man. That is absurd. Maybe it's probably best if Richard Dawkins stays in his lane and sticks with biology and debating in that sense, and not saying things about philosophy that don't really make sense because he's not a philosopher. I don't think it's an apt analogy. I'll put it that way. You don't have to like Richard Dawkins. You don't have to agree with Richard Dawkins. When it comes to facts are facts, and philosophy just is not quite that simple. There's just not enough information for some of the more complicated or difficult questions in philosophy. But if you're going to say, why hasn't Richard Dawkins done anything groundbreaking in philosophy, you're kind of asking a dumb question.
Have you read for yourself the works of real theologians, people articulating our beliefs in the best way we know how?
Is that the no true Scotsman fallacy? Real theologians? I don't recall Richard Dawkins ever purporting or saying he was a theologian. I don't know how much, like, if you want to talk about straw man, you can't just put up a straw man like that and then complain. What are you doing? Pick one. Pick one. I don't understand what you want at this point. Do you want somebody to have a conversation with you about philosophy? Because if you want to talk about philosophy, go to a philosopher. Do theologians study philosophy? Yes. They study parts and they go in philosophy. Do you mean specifically Christian theologians? Because there are people who are theologians of other theology. I don't know what to tell you. The answer is that you're asking atheists to try to convince themselves by reading theologians. That's what it sounds like. You're not reading the people that matter. You're not reading real philosophy or real theologians. You're busy reading Richard Dawkins talking about biology. Okay. Unrelated. I don't know.
Karl Rahner, John Henry Newman, Joseph Ratzinger, Augustine of Hippo, Henri de Lubac? Or do you stick with the simplicity of evangelical pastors from some rural anti-intellectual church?
Okay, that's funny. I like that. Are atheists engaging in... let me see if I can break down his questions. Are atheists engaging with a higher intellect or a higher conversation, or are they just poking and picking and prodding at the lowest common denominator they can find because it's easy? And the answer is yes to both. Some atheists are lazy, some atheists are dogmatic, and some atheists think it's easy to pick on, like, Joshua Fierstein, so that's what they do to avoid having more complex and difficult conversations about philosophy or about a topic they don't understand. Is that everybody? No, of course not. Are there people who spend lots of time reading theologians and having those discussions? Sure, but you have to know where to look to find those discussions. I would also probably say that there are a lot of people who point and laugh at the haha point and laugh at the religious person goes too far. There are times where it's appropriate and times where you're just making yourself look like an idiot or the asshole because you're laughing at somebody that you don't understand. They're not wrong. You're laughing because you don't get it. If you understood what they were saying, you wouldn't be laughing. You'd be engaging in a far more interesting conversation. So, I mean, I can definitely appreciate that. There are definitely too many atheists on the internet that just go, haha, herp derp, and then that's... I don't believe you, fuck you. This is like atheist experience type stuff that he's talking about. And does it apply to a lot of atheists on the internet and Twitter? Probably, yeah. I probably agree with them that yes. If you're asking me the individual, no, I don't read. I don't read. I can't. I don't know how. I don't read theologians very much. I also have Steve sending me philosophy papers all the time, and I've said regularly, I don't read any of that. The reason is because I'm not a philosopher. If I read paper on philosophy, I now have to invest a very large amount of time in making sure that I actually understand what the person is saying. I learn far better by having discussions about a paper than I do trying to just sit by myself and read the paper. So I very biasly cater to my own sensibilities and the way I learn the easiest. And the way I learn the easiest is by talking to people who are smarter than I am. So I spend time over on Answers and Reasons channel and talking to Dave over there, as well as talking to people like Steve and seeing what's going on with Oppie and things like that. So that's how I tend to learn. I just ask. Or if somebody's talking about something I don't understand, I just sit down and I either get in talk. Like, I love talking to Landon. Landon's so much smarter than I am. Is he a philosopher? No, but does he understand logic? Yeah. So if I don't understand something, I can just ask Landon. I just ask people, and I have the conversations, and I learn better that way than I do from actually reading. Puck. Oh dear, there's a friend outside. Oh yes, life is so hard when you're a pupper and you're on the inside. Yes, I know. Oh goodness, yes. Oh yeah, I know. Life is so hard. Lay down. Your butt's in the air. There you go. Good boy. Here's a ball. Good boy. Yes. Boop. No. 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 Good boy. Life is hard when you're a stinky pupper, doing stinky pupper things. A bork. Yeah, if you don't understand something, sometimes have you been in a debate though? Being in debates and having conversations and reading papers are all going to cater to different people. Some people are good at learning one way, some people are good at learning other ways. Some people are better with experience, some people are better with discussions. That's why you have different types of people learning in different ways, and why our education system is bonkers. Because you just expect everybody to learn in the same way at the same rate, based on age. It makes no sense. But what... Oh god, I'm gonna get struck now for that. Son of a bitch. Alright, well, anyway, let's see what else he has to say.
I ask all of this not to be accusatory, at least not overly accusatory, but
just a little bit accusatory. It's okay, I understand. It makes total sense to be asking these questions. I think it's fair, and I think maybe that there should be some people who maybe take a minute and pause and think, wait a minute, maybe I should read some of this stuff.
Simply challenge you to go deeper in your thought. Simply declaring yourself an atheist and going about your life isn't enough. Just as saying you're a Christian and...
No, it is, provided you don't, start trying to push your stuff on other people. If you don't have to join these conversations or have any big epiphanies if you don't want to. If you want to, great. If you don't.
Never reading the Bible wouldn't be enough. Ask more questions. Read more perspectives. Be able to articulate your understanding of the world with logic and reasoning that will actually add something to the world. Because here's the thing. People of faith need you to be good atheists. We do. As a Christian, I don't want you to be a bad atheist with an unexplored mind just regurgitating fallacies.
I usually have a little bit more fun rather than saying that they're regurgitating fallacies. It's more that they're accusing people of fallacies that they don't understand. I think that may be a little bit more apropos, but hey, what do I know? I don't know nothing. I'm a bad atheist. I am the dumb.
I want you to ask questions that we've never thought to answer. I want you to be so smart that it challenges us to be smarter. As crazy as it sounds, I would much rather you be a good atheist than just an atheist. And so that is my humble message to you, from one believer to a non-believer. We may not agree on much, but that doesn't mean that we don't need each other or can't learn something from one another.
Stuff like that I find confusing, because it's only really a lot of the time I think people have a lot more in common than they don't. So like I think there's probably a lot more that Steve and Matt agree on than they don't agree on. So I'm pretty sure I probably agree with this guy on a lot of things. There might be some policy or political differences, but they're probably like how to handle a situation, probably not that different. Can I help you? My goodness.
We do, and we can. Peace and good to you, Father Casey.
And there's all his socials if you guys are interested in following. Puck, can you shut up? Thanks. I appreciate it. I think he's kind of cute, so I mean, I'm fine. I'm down with this. Yeah, I thought his video was kind of interesting. There were a couple little jabs in there, and one or two things that I thought were like, no, this just isn't quite what you're trying. This is the opposite of the thing that you're going for. But you know, other than that, I thought it was a pretty good video. There's some interesting things to talk about. Like I said, Steve has already covered this in a more technical way, so I didn't really want to talk about like modal theory and stuff like that. But also Aaron also covered it, I think, but I haven't seen his, but I would assume it's also probably a little bit more aggressive. I'm not really trying to be aggressive. I'm a friendly guy, but I'm gonna switch over to the next thing. I'm gonna hit the be right back real quick, so that way I can shut the windows so the music coming in doesn't get me flagged, and I'll be back momentarily. I've returned. Ta-da! Okay, so yeah, they were playing Sweet Caroline, and as much as I love that at a bar, it's gonna mess me right up. All right, so we have returned. So Caffeine Corner, or not, sorry, Judgment Call now. We're having a Caffeine Corner tomorrow. We're having a special edition Caffeine Corner, and I am super duper excited. That is happening tomorrow at a time. I'm assuming 2, but I haven't double checked that. But this guy called in, Positively Atheist called in on not last Monday, the Monday before, saying, hey, Steve, you've been shown wrong about your usages of agnostic and atheist. And Steve said, okay, where? And basically this guy said, explain it all to me. Basically this guy called in demanding philosophy 101 and then decided to argue about everything the whole way down the line. And it's like, you can't tell somebody they're wrong about a topic you have, then require that they have to teach you from scratch that you're going to ignore and reject their teaching you about after you've said that they're wrong. So no, you've got this backwards. Learn the topic and then say that somebody's wrong, because then that allows you to articulate you're the person this guy's talking about. That's you. They actually go together pretty well, I'm not gonna lie, because this is a whole lot of fallacies and a whole lot of nonsense and a whole lot of accusatory garbage. This was the guy who was saying the Easter Bunny might exist. So I'm just gonna read the description. We talked about this a little bit on Judgment Call to set up for tomorrow, but yeah, you'll recognize this picture. It's not good, but we'll end up going over the more technical stuff about this on Wednesday. But there's an article linked in his description, and I wanted to cover the article real quick so we kind of have maybe a bit of an understanding about where this person is coming from. Where did they get this idea from? Where did they get this in their head? And so many people hate the word atheist, including many people who by definition, are, in fact, that ought to be part of the drinking game. Every time somebody's like, by definition, take a shot. Including many people who, by any definition, are in fact atheists themselves. I get it. I don't think you do. It took me years to finally accept I was one. I don't know who he's talking about. This is because tons of misinformation and hateful beliefs about what it means to be one. Oh, because of. This is because tons of misinformation and hateful beliefs about what it means to be one. Please send. Hopefully this video will help clear the air and help everyone get a better understanding of what it means. Link to the article and helpful graph used in this video. So what I'm curious about is the article. I don't know, this is a 40-minute video that Steve and I are going to go over. We're going to be watching it at like 1.5 speed, so hopefully, fingers crossed, it's not going to be forever long. But I want to look at this article. The difference between atheists and agnostics. With this stupid king picture. Please, this is already a terrible sign. This is a terrible, no, we're skipping this. We talked a little bit about who this person might be. The answer is we don't really know. There's not really much information given about this person, but this learnreligions.com, East Asian, Abrahamic / Middle East, Indian, other beliefs and religions. Compare 19 beliefs of Catholics and Protestants. If they're this wrong about agnostic and atheism, I'm curious as to about how accurate their information is about other any of the rest of this. So I'm very, very curious. If you went digging, you could probably find quite the large clusterfuck. So let's take a look at this article. The words atheist and agnostic conjure up a number of different perceptions and meanings. When it comes to questioning the existence of gods, the subject is a tricky one that often misunderstands. Key takeaways: theism and agnosticism. Atheism is about belief, or specifically about what you don't believe. Yeah, you don't believe in a god, you believe there are no gods. Yeah, okay, they got that right at least so far. Let's see if it changes. An atheist doesn't believe in any gods. Yes, they believe there are no gods. Agnosticism is about knowledge, or specifically what you don't know. Incorrect. It is in one sense, and not when you're talking about epistemology, which is a belief. And an agnostic doesn't know if any gods exist or not. Sure. It is common for people to be both agnostic and atheist, or agnostic and theists. No? What? Okay. If this is the takeaway from the article, I'm concerned. No matter what their reasons or how they approach the question, agnostics and atheists are fundamentally different, but also non-exclusive. This whole article is a category error. This whole article is a fucking category error. The word agnostic exists in two senses, at least. There are two different main usages of the word agnostic in philosophy. One of them is talking about knowledge, and the other one is talking about belief systems. So, epistemology. Atheism is talking about epistemology. So when you say, and somebody asks you about what you believe, what's your epistemology, and you say agnostic, you cannot be agnostic and atheism at the same time as long as you're talking within the same umbrella. Many people who adopt the label of agnostic simultaneously reject the label of atheist, even if it technically applies to them. Probably because it doesn't apply to them. Stop trying to label people with your garbage. You're trying to force people to use your trash. Nobody wants it. Stop. Oh no. Oh no. I'm gonna show up the stream tomorrow for Caffeine Corner, and I'm just going to be crying. In addition, citation, please. Please, citation. In addition, there's a common misconception that the agnosticism is somehow a more reasonable position, while atheism is more dogmatic, ultimately indistinguishable from theism except in the details. Oh, they're becoming self-aware. Oh no. Oh no. This paper is reading to me like an existential crisis. Okay, hold on. There is a common misconception that agnosticism is somehow a more reasonable position while atheism is more dogmatic. Okay. So, whether or not something is reasonable is up to persuasion and justification. Can agnosticism be reasonably justified? Yes. Yes, it can. So, whether or not something is more reasonable is going to be entirely determinant on who you ask. The whole reason this is even a question about why there are different positions is because you can't get ahead in any of them. They're all pretty well equal. There are some individual claims that can be brushed off a little bit more, but if you're just talking about God, then there is a degree of lack of knowledge. That's why people might say that agnosticism might be the most reasonable position. It's because you get to a point where everybody has to just say, we don't have enough information. But we're not asking about information when we're asking about a belief. We're asking about what do you believe about whatever information you do or do not have. We're not asking about what knowledge you have, right? So if somebody says they're agnostic, they say, I do not believe there is a God, or they say, I do not believe either side. I do not believe there is a God, and I do not believe that there isn't a God. I am agnostic. I don't have... And the reason they might be agnostic is because they don't have enough information. That might be their reasoning. But They're not talking about what knowledge they do or do not have. They're talking about their belief. They're talking about epistemology. This is just a really, really basic category error. And the reason it's a category error is because people do not understand or listen to the words that are being spoken. So when somebody says, I believe because of knowledge, they go, oh, so you're talking about how much knowledge you have. No! No, I'm not making a statement about knowledge. Knowledge might be my reasoning, but not my position. Rodent No Last Name for Two says, no, you're a category error. Yeah, probably. I wonder why people think atheism is more dogmatic. By the way. Maybe because the Lacktheism online atheists that do write articles like this and use articles like this are dogmatic as fuck. It's because of their behavior, not because of their belief or belief in not. And yes, because of their belief. Stop being afraid of words. Ultimately indistinguishable from theism except in the details. Sometimes they get pretty culty. This is not a valid argument because it misrepresents or misunderstands everything involved. Atheism, theism, Gnosticism, and even the nature of belief itself. Oh boy, this is a link. Oh, it's a link to its own article. Oh dear. How about no? How about source, please? Let's explore the differences between being an atheist. No, it's not us that's the problem, it's you. You don't understand anything. It can't be us not understanding anything. Let's explore the difference between being an atheist and an agnostic and clear the air of any misconceptions or misinterpretations. Have you ever heard the phrase, the blind leading the blind? Oh, this one's a video. What's the difference between atheists and agnostics? Tell me.
Today's of prehistoric cave paintings, we've been pondering the existence of God with two simple concepts, belief versus knowledge. And that push-pull between belief and knowledge is the perfect way to understand atheists and agnostics.
Oh! It's not belief versus knowledge. Knowledge is a subset of belief. You're welcome. I've solved your category error.
To put in simple terms, atheism is about belief, or lack thereof. An atheist doesn't believe in God, and it's not an active choice to be one.
Nope, never mind. I'm not saying it.
You don't have to register and check the No God box on a form down at the DMV. It's simply not affirming a proposition made by others.
Okay, and so here you have, oh, we are the Lacktheist. We don't have a position, and this is the natural state of this is babies are atheists and rocks are atheists and everything's an atheist. Oh no. Dapper says, I hope that woman was well paid to say that stupid shit. How much you want to bet she did it for free? How much do you want to bet she was not paid and she basically is the same as a volunteer at a church? That would be my bet. Because, sometimes they're indistinguishable from their theist counterparts. And like David Smalley said, we don't want to be on the same level playing field as the theists. Fuck that shit. Then we might have to do something. Should we do something? We should do something.
An agnostic, on the other hand, is about knowledge. Knowledge is power! They don't know if God exists or not. A simple question to ask.
No, that is, agnostics don't know if God exists or not. Agnostics don't accept either proposition. And their reasoning might be a lack of knowledge. Dear God.
Ask yourself is, do you think you know for sure that any God exists?
If you do that, everybody is an agnostic. And everybody is an atheist. There are some people that will claim special knowledge. Outside of that. This hurts my brain.
If your answer to that question is,
oh no, I can't.
Then you're agnostic. Atheists and
No! Because the question is about belief, not about knowledge. This is what I mean. This is a category area. This is simply a conflation between knowledge and belief, conflating and confusing the two. This video alone, in its 44 seconds, has already flip-flopped like 4 times about whether or not they're talking about knowledge and in which way. Or belief and in which way.
Agnostics can be overlapping concepts and can often describe the same person.
Why are you asking what someone knows to ask about what they believe? Ask them what they believe. Why would you ask an agnostic what they know? Ask an agnostic what they believe. For fuck's sakes. Just stop asking people different questions. Pick one. Pick a lane.
While it's easy for these terms to blend together in your head,
You're the one blending them! You put my brain in a blender.
remember the one key difference next time you're at a dinner party. Atheists are about belief, specifically what they do not believe. And
Wait, so before they said that atheists are just rejecting a claim, and now they're saying that atheism is a belief? Well, pick a lane. Fucking waffles. Constant waffles. Although now I kind of want some waffles.
agnostics are about knowledge, specifically what they don't know. If that slips your mind, just start a conversation about cave paintings, because everyone loves those.
What? They hired somebody off of Flickr. So the woman who read it is off of Flickr, so yeah, she got paid. Good for her. I'm glad she got paid for this. What is an atheist? An atheist is a... So this isn't a source. This is something they sourced. Oh, God. What is an atheist? An atheist is anyone who doesn't believe in any gods. So they believe no gods exist. That is a simple... This is a very simple concept, but is also widely misunderstood. For that reason, there are a variety of ways to state it. You're stating it in 2 different ways right now. Atheism is a lack of belief in gods. Wrong. The absence of belief in gods. Wrong. The disbelief in gods. Oh, there you go. Getting closer. Or not believing in gods. These are different things. You need to pick one. You can't. Oh my God. Listen, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you which one you can and cannot use, but you can't use all of them at the same time. I cry. The most precise definition may be that an atheist is anyone who does not affirm the position, quote, at least one God exists, end quote. This is not a proposition made by atheists. Being an atheist requires nothing active or even conscious on the part of the atheist. There's probably a lot of not very conscious atheists. I would agree with that. All that is required is not affirming a position made by others. A proposition made by others. Oh, no. Mr. Serious says, if atheism was a single color, it would be red, blue, purple. Rodent, no last name, says, put it through the Santa Claus test. Are you a clausist or agnostic on Santa Claus? Okay, so we actually did that with the guy where I got this article from that we're going to talk about tomorrow. We asked him if he thought the Easter Bunny, if he believed in the Easter Bunny, and he said he was agnostic on the Easter Bunny, so he thinks the Easter Bunny may exist. Or may not exist. He doesn't have enough knowledge. And then he got mad about wanting me to explain why I said how I would justify saying the Easter Bunny didn't exist. And then I said, because I have a sample size of 0, I have no sample size of the Easter Bunny. I would also probably actually additionally say that the lore on the Easter Bunny is inconsistent. And because the Easter Bunny lore is inconsistent, I don't really have a whole lot that I could go on. If you could nail me down like a specific lore, like how does it function, then I have something a little bit more substantial that I could actually go off of. But because it's so goddamn wishy-washy, but that's all just personal justification, right? That's my personal reason as to why I don't believe the Easter Bunny exists. I believe there is no Easter Bunny. And then he was just like, he didn't think that I answered the question, I guess. And then he also asked for evidence that the Easter Bunny doesn't exist. And I'm like, I never said I had evidence. I don't have, like, the last Easter Bunny, so it doesn't exist anymore because it's extinct. Like, what are you talking about? Anyway. This needs to stop. This needs to stop right now. Or, tell you what, citation needed. Citation needed, please. What is an agnostic? An agnostic is anyone who doesn't claim to know whether any God exists or not. This is also an uncomplicated idea, but it may be as misunderstood as atheism. By you, because now you've jumped to talking about knowledge and stopped talking about beliefs. Do words have multiple meanings? You seemed to think so up here and then asserted it was this was the most precise definition, so I'd love to hear your explanation as to why this is the most precise and how this isn't vague as flying fuck because it doesn't actually answer the question about what you believe. I hate everything. I hate life. Get me out. This is why people like Habit over here are like atheism leads to nihilism. I mean, look at what we're dealing with. Can you cut me some slack about why maybe some atheists that maybe actually do the reading and do look at this stuff, why they might feel a little bit nihilistic about life and the universe and everything? God. One major problem is that atheism and agnosticism both deal with questions regarding the existence of gods. Whereas atheism involves what a person does or does not believe, agnosticism involves what a person does or does not know. No. You're wrong. Oh no, they linked with what is oh no. Oh no. Oh, I don't have enough alcohol for this. What philosophy of truth, knowledge, and belief. Oh, it's by the same person. Epistemology is the investigation of the nature of knowledge itself. Its study focuses on our means for acquiring knowledge and how we can differentiate between truth and falsehoods. Modern epistemology generally involves a debate between rationalism and empiricism. Oh no. Oh no. Oh dear. Okay. No. Belief and knowledge are related, but nevertheless separate issues. No. Wrong. They're different questions, but not separate issues. Oh. Okay. All right. We've been over this before. This is, okay, so you've got a category error that is being compounded by special pleading and assertions without refutation or assertions without citation, I should say. So they're refusing a thing without refuting it, and they're asserting a thing without sourcing it. right? So they refuted this and this without actually refuting it, and they cited this without sourcing it, right? For example, same thing here. They're citing this, but they're not sourcing it in any way. So no. That which is, are we gonna Hitchens razor this? Is that, you want to talk about fallacies? You are the person this guy is talking about. You people. What's your name? This guy, person, I don't know who they are. Atheism expert. Fuck. Atheism expert. What's your job? I'm an atheist expert. The fuck does that mean? Person who doesn't have a degree in philosophy? Oh no. Okay. There's a simple test to tell if one is an agnostic or not. Do you know for sure if any gods exist? If so, then you're not an agnostic, but a theist. Do you know for sure that gods do not or even cannot exist? If so, then you're not an agnostic, but an atheist. Everyone who cannot answer yes to one of those questions is a person who may or may not believe in one or more gods. However, since they don't also claim to know for sure, they are agnostic. The only question then is whether they are agnostic theist or not agnostic atheist. This entire paragraph is complete garbage. This makes no sense. I don't know how you could read this out loud and understand what's being said here, like, on its face. The only reason I kind of know what is going on here is because I've been a part of this conversation multiple times and I've seen the results and seen what has happened. I have, like, backlog knowledge. If you were just to come across this, if somebody who doesn't know anything about this came across this and read this article, they would skip this paragraph. They would read it and none of it would stay in their mind because this is absolute fucking mush. This is not... I feel like I need a chart. I need to draw and be like, okay, listen, all right, we have this person over here who is... If everyone who cannot answer yes, so no, to one of these questions is a person who may or may not believe in one or more gods. Are you sure they're a person? Are you sure they're not a rock? Fuck off. Agnostic atheist versus agnostic theist. I don't want to read anymore. I never want to read again. An agnostic atheist doesn't believe in any gods, while an agnostic atheist doesn't believe in any gods, but they're not asserting anything, guys. While an agnostic theist believes in the existence of at least one god. However, both do not make the claim to have knowledge to back up this belief fundamentally. There is still some questions, and that's why they're agnostic. No! You take the word agnostic out of this entirely. Atheists have a belief and aren't making a knowledge claim. Theists have a belief, they're not making a knowledge claim. Unless they decide to start making claims about knowledge. How are you this wrong? This seems contradictory and difficult. It's not. It's just incorrect. But it's actually quite easy and logical. Whether one believes it or not, they can also be comfortable in not claiming to know for sure that it's either true or false. And now we're on to talking about how much knowledge do you have? This was a question that I asked Positively Atheist while he was on. And he said, well, there's like a sliding scale of how much knowledge you have before you can believe something and not believe it at the same time, and it's a scale. And I'm like, how? How do you believe something and not believe something at the same time. And where on the scale do you flip from what is you have to have 30% belief or 50% belief? What the fuck does this mean? I don't understand. This makes no sense. It occurs in many different topics as well, because belief is not the same as direct knowledge. No shit. You mean knowledge is a subset of belief, and if you applied this upwards in your article, maybe you'd figure out what you were talking about? Once it's understood that atheism is merely an absence of a belief in any gods, that's not what you said here. Doesn't believe in any gods. Merely an absence of belief in it. Doesn't. Merely an absence. Flip-flopping motherfuckers. It becomes clear that agnosticism is not, as many assume, a third way between atheism and theism. Okay. Thank you for the bells. Thank you. Alright. Okay. Let me explain this very quickly. I'm gonna break this down as simply as I can. If you have belief about a proposition, how many gumballs? Whatever. Are there an even number? Let's take the gumball analogy. Is there an even number or an odd number of gumballs? If I tell you that there are there's 7 gumballs, so there's an odd number, do you believe me? No, I haven't given you any reason. If I say it's even and there's 8, do you believe me? No, so you don't believe either. Which is the third option? Fuck. The presence of a belief in a god and the absence of a belief in a god does not exhaust all of the possibilities. There are 4 options. There are 4. You believe the proposition is true, you believe the proposition is false, you believe neither proposition, or you believe both propositions. The reason nobody talks about the 4th one is because it makes no sense. It's completely unreasonable and irrational. So you can't believe and not believe something at the same time. So because it's contradictory, or you have some kind of problem in your brain, it's irrational. It's removed, leaving you with 3 options. Now, the proposition itself might be a dichotomy. It may be either true or false. So the knowledge that you need to know whether something is true or false or not, to make it a fact, may not exist. Meaning that the answer, what's true, might be a dichotomy. It might be either true or false, but that doesn't mean your positions about something that you don't have enough knowledge of, because knowledge is a subset of belief, means there are 3, 4, but 3. This is just the way things function. Dear God. Do you want chicken or fish for dinner? Neither. Oh, wow. A third option. Neither. Thanks. Are you going to say that well, we don't have anything else at home? Oh, well, okay, fine. That's a matter of knowledge, then, isn't it? I didn't know there was no other things at home. Dear God. I'm getting upset. Agnosticism is not about belief in God, but about knowledge. Incorrect. It was originally coined to describe the position of a person who could not claim to know for sure if any God existed or not. I don't even know if I believe anything. Source! Please give me a source. This might be correct, this might not be correct. My history is not very good. But also, a lot of the times, the breakdown of a word, it's not exactly what it means, and never will be, or never was. Words are weird. English is weird. It's not a very good argument. But, source, then, please, so I can double check. Thanks. It was not meant to describe someone who somehow found an alternative between the present and absence of some particular belief. Of course it wasn't, because you don't know what you're talking about. Yet many people have the mistaken impression that agnosticism and atheism are mutually exclusive, because they are. In epistemology, you can't not believe and believe something at the same time. You're welcome. But why? There's nothing about I don't know which logically concludes I believe. Because their reasoning is not the same as their position. But because you don't fucking know the difference, atheist expert, about whether someone knows something or someone believes something, and you don't know what the difference between those two fucking words are, this person is frustrating. On the contrary, not only are knowledge and belief compatible, but they frequently appear together because not knowing is frequently a reason for not believing. Holy shit! Sorry, hold on. Excuse me 1 second. I need to scroll back up in this article. On the contrary, not only are knowledge and belief compatible, but they frequently appear together because not knowing is frequently a reason for not believing. Let me just scroll up here because I'm pretty sure there was a bit here that I was like, my brain just exploded. Knowledge and belief are related but nevertheless separate issues. And also, on the contrary, they are not only are knowledge and belief compatible, but they frequently appear together because not knowing something is frequently a reason for not believing. So if anybody could do me a favor, anybody who's got Twitter right now, please change your Twitter handle to Atheist Expert, please. Thanks. Certified Atheist Expert TM. Thanks. Great. Fantastic. What the fuck? Oh no. It's often a very good idea to not accept that some proposition is true unless you have enough evidence that would qualify it as knowledge. Being a juror in a murder trial is a good parallel to this contradiction. No, it's really not. It's really, really not. Alright, last paragraph. There is no agnostic versus atheist. By now, the difference between being an atheist and agnostic should be pretty clear and easy to remember. Atheism is about belief, or specifically what you don't believe. Agnosticism is about knowledge, or specifically what you don't know. Wrong. Incorrect. Completely incorrect. An atheist doesn't believe in any gods. An agnostic doesn't know if any gods exist or not. These can be the exact same person, but need to be. These can be the exact same person, but need not be. Okay. But need not be. In the end, the fact of the matter is that a person is not faced with the necessity of only being either an atheist or an agnostic. Not only can a person be both, but it is, in fact, common for people to be both agnostic and atheists, or agnostics and theists. An agnostic atheist won't claim to know for sure that nothing warranting the label God exists, or that such cannot exist, and yet they also don't actively believe that such an entity does indeed exist. No, I don't want to cite this article. I would like this article to cite, please. God, no. There is no sources. This is a blog that has absolutely dipshit fucking nothing. It links to more of his own writing. Oh, dear Lord. Wow. Fucking wow. I almost want to, like, take this, print it off, and take a big red marker and be like, citation, explain, claim, like a highlighter, and just send it back and be like, write it again. I just don't understand how you could write something that just self-contradicts. So at least Aaron's blog had citations. His citations didn't say what he claimed they said in his, but at least there were citations. This has no citations, it's had nothing in it. You need to figure out how to research something, because bro, your citation has no citations. It's just a guy. It's just a guy who claims to be an atheism expert, who was apparently a regional director of a thing. I don't have a degree. I don't have much education. I am just a goblin on the internet, and I can grasp these concepts. I can recognize when somebody is being self-contradictory, even if I don't have the history or the education to write a paper. But I also don't claim to be an atheism expert. I can state you're wrong, and I can send you to sources. At least my sources have citations and sources. This has nothing. This is nothing. This is garbage. This is trash. This is garbage. You should be ashamed of yourself for not only writing this with nothing, but then citing it with also nothing. Good job. You failed. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Everyone is worse off for having listened to you, and may I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul. That's it. I'm done. Get me out of here. I can't believe okay, I'll see you guys tomorrow, where we're covering his video about this article, about his, I guess, the conversation we had with him on Monday. God, I liked this guy. This guy was funny. I thought he was kind of came off as acty, as trying to, like, soundy, sincere-y, acty, but you know what? At least he's cute. I liked this guy. I want to talk to this guy. Everybody go change your name to atheist expert. I'll see you guys next time. Get me out of here. Oh god, have a good day, everyone, and I'll see. Like and subscribe and become members if you want to support and stuff. Join the Discord if you want to talk about this more. I'll put the links to these 3 things in the chat so you guys can go and check them out yourselves if you want. I'll see you guys. I'll see you guys later. God, I need a drink. Bye.